Going to start. Hello, everybody. It is I, the Nomad, coming to you from the wastelands of the internet once more. This time, Jensen can't be here to keep me in line, so he brought in somebody who has a much better job of being able to keep me in line and keep me in tow. All right, it's Maddie. Say hello to the folks,
Hey.
Maddie. Welcome, welcome. Um, I have a lot of little stories here today, right? For us, we're gonna start off with the story that everyone's been talking about for the last week, all right? Even though I don't really care to talk too much about this, and we'll start with the story from the Daily Mail. All right, explosions in the sky above Billings, Montana, where a Chinese spy balloon was spotted infiltrating U.S. airspace, as residents report seeing a jet zoom by after officials came under fire for refusing to shoot it down. An explosion was seen over the sky in Billings, Montana, where a Chinese spy balloon has been flying over the region and was caught on camera on Friday. A mysterious video in the aftermath shows a trail of smoke in the sky where the balloon was spotted. I have a feeling that this is probably just a vapor trail. All right. Dolly Moore, who took the video of the scene, right, said she saw a jet go by so fast and there was an explosion in the sky. Sonic
Okay.
boom?
Probably.
Now,
There were
aside from that, yeah.
explosions everywhere.
Now, personally, do I think we shot it down? No. Do I think we should shoot it down? Oh hell yes. We should make a point of shooting it down. We should go up there with some old style weaponry, to be honest, right? Put just a few holes in that freaking balloon so that it slinks fairly slowly to the earth, and then we should take it apart right in front of the Chinese embassy.
Yeah.
That's what we should be doing. All right. In fact, we should have done that without saying a freaking word to anybody. All right. We should have just
Yeah.
done it, and when the press came in, when the press comes in and goes, what are you doing? The answer would be, ask China. I mean, I wouldn't have. Look, should we have allowed this? No. Is it a big deal? It depends on how you're looking at it. That's my view. What's your view on this, Maddie?
Yeah, I agree with you. They should have shot it down. Or if they were afraid that the debris was going to fall on somebody's house, don't they have like airplanes that can hook shit midair and kind of drag it along?
Yes.
Okay, that could have happened too, and they could have gotten it out of the airspace that way if they were so afraid of, because they're like, well, no, if you shoot it down, then it'll hit somebody's house. Okay, we know there's
In
more than one way,
Montana?
right?
I mean, with all due
Well, I mean,
respect,
it's Montana. It's Montana. It could have hit a cow. I mean, let's be fair. Could have hit a cow.
it's more likely to hit a grizzly bear than a person. I'm not wrong.
Nope. I could just see the thing coming down on a Montana ranch, hitting a cow, and the rancher going, "Well, goddamn."
Typical. That's
Yeah.
exactly what he's saying. I can tell you right now. Charlie, let's go get the ropes.
Mm,
gotta go to John. Let John know. Yeah, John. Yeah, the sheriff's department. Yeah, John. Have him come on out here. Send him one of his deputies out here to come take a look at this thing. Got to make sure that they understand it wasn't us that did this.
right.
Even better, you could have set up there and claimed it was a freaking weather balloon. All right, and declared it a UFO. You could have made Bozeman, Montana,
Good
like
God.
Roswell, New Mexico.
Right. Gee. Some
Tourism.
people are
Think
just
about it.
like, yeah. This here is where this thing here fell down. It almost hit me in the head. Oh.
I'm gonna try something, Maddie, to see if this works. Okay. Um, Let me know if this works for you. What I'm gonna try to do is let you, because there's this delay in the stories.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna try and put the screen up um, on Discord so you can see this early.
Okay.
That way it's a little easier for you.
Okay.
All right. Let me know if that you can see that.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. We ready for the next story then? Because I'm gonna zip
I,
this.
as ready as we're gonna be.
Because I want to get to the latter parts of the words. Heavily into stories about animals and human stupidity. All right. Signs of coming Russian offensive on multiple fronts in Ukraine mount. Really?
Like they haven't
you,
been doing that already. Just guys are just now catching up. Jesus Christ! I thought you were journalists. Oh wait.
Dnipro. I'm butchering the name. I can't pronounce these names. All right, Ukrainian president, and you know I can't pronounce names, Manny. Vladimir Zelensky said the situation in eastern Ukraine is very difficult as Russia pressed for territorial gains around the city of Bakhmut, all right, and prepared for an expected offensive in the coming weeks. I thank all of our fighters who are withstanding the severe pressure from the occupiers, Mr. Zelensky said in his nightly address on Friday. He said he was doing everything to expedite the delivery of Western tanks promised by Ukraine's European allies, which Kiev hopes will swing the balance in its favor and enable a counteroffensive against Russian forces. Ukrainian and Western
You know,
officials. Go ahead.
translated to, "We know you're getting sick of shrapnel in your omelets. Hang in there. Tanks are coming."
Ukrainian and Western officials have for weeks been warning of a major Russian offensive to coincide with the war's first anniversary later this month. They have pointed to a troop buildup in the Russian held areas of the Ukraine that include many of the 300,000 Russian soldiers who had been mobilized in September and tasked with breaking through the Ukrainian lines in the east and the south. Um, okay. We know an offensive is coming. All right. The
Mhm.
Russians just, but for those people who don't know, just asked for another 200,000 troops.
Jesus.
Okay. They just called up another
They're,
200,000.
they're not done getting their asses kicked yet. They're going to do it very well and thoroughly.
Well, they understand something, which is this is you got to understand how the Russians fight. All right. This is what they do. All right. You know, walk over there. Ivan, attack. Okay. Vlad, you and Ivan attack. Didn't
Right.
the other guys just get killed? Don't worry, just keep going.
Right. Oh, so this is where 40K got their idea for orc armies from. Okay.
Okay. We need bigger wave. Attack again. All right. And when you're
Sooner
talking
or
about
later it will work. We have faith.
it always has in the past. Okay. And when you're talking about fighting against the Ukrainians, with all due respect to the Ukrainians, they don't have the troop numbers to continue a sustained assault like this.
They don't, but I mean, you have got to give them credit with their wherewithal and their sheer resolve. It's like, no.
The the fact that they're fighting, all right, consistently is impressive. All right.
Hmm.
You cannot take that away from them. All right. The Ukrainians, and I have said this for a long time. All right. The Ukrainians were never a nation. Okay. Prior to the fall of the Soviet Union, they really weren't.
Mm-mm.
But I recently heard a guy make a comment, and he's very true about this. All right. Ukrainian identity solidified in the last 15 to 20 years.
Hmm.
It really has created a separate identity from the Russians. Right.
Yeah.
The problem is, just like the Catalan region in Spain, you don't have
Hmm.
defensible borders,
No.
right? And that's not going to change, right?
I mean, they
So,
got a taste of what it's like being, an autonomous country, somebody separate from Russia, and they don't want to be absorbed back into Russia. I mean, I can't blame them.
I can't, but at the same time, there's things that they're going to have to accept. Okay. One, you're not taking the Crimea back. That's been ethnically Russian for how long? They only drew a map and said, okay, we'll give it to the Ukrainians. There is
Yeah.
no way that the Russians were ever going to cede Crimea. Okay, and if you attempt to do it, you attempt to do it otherwise, the Russians will continue to fight over it. And even if let's assume something for a second. Let's say that the Russians lose, right, and decide to say, okay, enough is enough, we'll pull back. Okay, 20 years from now, what's going to happen? We're going to go back in again.
Yep.
Okay. This is the
mean,
problem when you
Putin's
don't have
thinking
defensible borders.
it's not only that. It's as long as Putin's in power, they're going to keep trying because, in my opinion, he literally, I think he said at one time or another that he's not going to stop until Russia's reunified. Okay?
Well,
I
right.
want to see him. I want to see him lose his absolute nut and go into Poland.
No. Poland isn't Russian, and the Russians recognize that Poland isn't Russian. Okay,
Yeah, but
that
do you
doesn't
think
mean that.
that's going to
But
stop?
that. Go ahead.
If
I'm
he's
sorry.
going after resources, you think that's going to stop him?
Oh no. I didn't say that. I'm not saying that at all. Right. But the Poles are Poles, and they do have some areas that are actually defensible from the Russian perspective. Okay. They do have a kind of like a little mountain range right there, but
Yeah.
I don't think it matters if Vlad is there or not in the with regards to the Ukraine. I think if you put another Russian oligarch in charge, whoever that'll be, they'll still come after the Ukraine. All right.
Yeah.
There's too much. There's too much history there. All right. And quite frankly, when you look at this, when I say that Ukraine has no defensible borders to Russia, the opposite is also true, which is why Russia is nervous. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, it's also something that most people know in the Donetsk region, right, which is the eastern region, right above the Ukraine, Crimea rather. Between that and what's that city that they were Kharkiv,
Mhm.
right? Between that area is the Donetsk region, and that region just so happens. What did they find? Oil,
Yeah.
oil fields. Okay,
Mhm.
so the Russians aren't going to give it up on it. They're not.
Nope.
All right. And unfortunately, we can give the Ukrainians weapons. I disagree with this to a point, right? But because
Yeah.
we should not be giving them M1s, right? Because
No.
again, we shouldn't have left the M1s in Afghanistan or in Iraq
No.
or anywhere else. We should have taken them home. But that's a
Now,
separate issue.
now my question is this: how much shit do we have to give them before people start, actually believing what most of us have suspected all along, that this is? It feels like a proxy war with Russia, and because we keep giving Ukraine all this shit, but it's like, no, we're not involved. Now it's, oh, here's some tanks. We're involved.
Yeah,
We're
that's
just
true.
not there, or as my mother would say with that phrase my dad hated. We just don't have quote unquote boots on the ground.
Well, we don't have officially boots on the ground. That's correct.
Mm-mm.
All right. For those who don't know how special operations work, let me just say that there's very likely some people that speak American
Yeah.
roaming around out there. All right, as
Hmm.
special operational warfare guys. All right, because that's unfortunately what we do. Okay, you don't hear about a lot about it, right? But it most likely there are some things like that that are there. But that isn't boots on the ground from the perspective of we're having entire units go there. Okay,
Yeah.
um, and the thing is That's what it's going to take to win the war, though. Is you're going to have other nations send soldiers to help the Ukrainians.
Yeah.
That's the mathematics of this. We can give them. All right. First of all, what do you know about the Allies giving them tanks, Maddie?
So I know we are. I know there's other countries helping in other ways, but so far, because ever since I left the political and news space, I haven't really tracked it with the diligence I used to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're giving them tanks. We're giving them about 30. Okay, right? The British are giving them their Challenger 2s as they slowly transition to the Challenger 3s. Okay. Um, they're giving them 14. Okay. Who knows what the Germans are giving them from the Leopard 2s, and even if they give them Leopard 2s, Leopard 2 is a good system when it's completely operational, but like everything German, it's complicated to the hilt, and their ship breaks all the time because it's just too damn complicated.
No, Germans over engineer something? Say it isn't so.
Right? You would think that the Germans would have learned from World War II, but no. Hey, you got to give them credit. Quality over quantity. They still have that mentality, right? It's just that they still overcomplicate their stuff, which is one of the reasons why
Yeah.
the M1 is the superior tank. We can pump out a lot of them. They're not overly complicated. Yes, the technological package that we have in them is sophisticated and good. Okay, but the problem that you with just giving these things to like the Ukrainians, you gotta practice in that stuff, and you gotta work into that stuff on how you're gonna go with this. Sending these out in the old mentality ways that you had in World War II, that doesn't work anymore, right? It just doesn't. And I'll tell you something else that worries me about all this. Sure, we're giving them tanks, okay, but the Russians still control the airspace for the most part, right? They
Yeah.
don't have air supremacy, but they do have air superiority, which means they can, if they want to infiltrate any air area, they can. All right, with their things. Will they take losses? Yes, but they can still do it. They do control
Yeah.
the air for the most part. Okay, there is no Ukrainian air force for all intents and
Nope.
purposes. Okay, and if you want to talk about the Ukrainians, what the Ukrainian Air Force is basically trying to do, we have this story from Vice, which you should be able to see now, Maddie.
Yeah. Holy.
Ukraine
Okay.
is now strapping RPGs to racing drones to bomb invading Russians.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's thinking outside the box.
Hobbyist drones are being used as loitering munitions on the front lines of the war in Ukraine. The Ukraine is strapping rocket propelled grenades, RPGs, to cheap racing drones. I don't know about, well, I mean, relatively cheap, I guess. And using them to attack the Russian front lines. It's an effective method of gathering intel, destroying expensive equipment, and controlling the battlefield that represents a fundamental shift in how wars are fought. In the last few weeks, photos of makeshift loitering munitions have circulated on Russian and Ukrainian telegram channels. Footage pulled from the drones shows the attacks has landed on Reddit. Okay, I don't really care about that. Suicide, I guess drone. All right, versus a Z vehicle. Um, okay. these these do work. Okay, I'm not going to admit that. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna, I mean, they work to
I
a
mean,
point. Let me put it that way.
you gotta give him ingenuity. They're trying.
Oh well, yeah, they're doing with what they're using what they can,
They're MacGyvering shit.
which is what you do in war. Okay,
Yep.
that's what you do when you run out of when you don't have something, you make do, and you figure out
Yep.
a way to make do. It's the way to do things. Um, and it's as effective as a missile in a certain sense. Okay. First of all, a drone like this carrying this kind of munition, if it flies on the top of a tank, will likely kill the tank crew.
Keep
Okay.
talking. My mom's calling.
Well, that's no problem. It will likely kill the tank crew. It can be very effective because the armor at the very top of tanks tends to be, notice the word, tends to be um, not as thick as what you're seeing from the sides, especially from the front, which is where the big gun is. So RPGs falling from the sky could have an absolute devastating effect, right, on armor units and things like that. You can hit cars, you can hit vehicles. The great thing from the perspective of the Ukrainians is they can reach out and touch the logistics areas, all right, if they can get these drones to fly far enough, all right, of the Russians, and it's getting to the logistics and hampering the logistics chain of the Russians, which is really important. All right, one of the reasons that the Russians had to pull back, all right, on their attempt to take the western area and try to encircle Kiev, one of their biggest failings was the ability of the Allies, and I'm saying this as the allies of the Ukrainian and their allies, all right, to absolutely, I'm sorry you're freezing, Mr. Barkley, um, to absolutely inundate, all right, and infiltrate, all right, the logistics chains. In fact, that's one of the biggest problems that the Russians had, all right, is they outran in the first part of the war, they literally outran their logistics capabilities. This is why they stalled. And when you stall and you
Yeah.
freeze in place, okay, you have a major problem. Part of the military tactics, standard overall military tactics, find the enemy. Well, the enemy's pretty easy to find. All right. Fix the enemy. Well, the enemy fixed itself. They just sat in place. And then you kill the
Yeah.
enemy. And the Russians were good at killing Ukrainians, but guess what? The Ukrainians were good at killing Russians too. Now, for all the people who talk about all the brutalization of war, it's war, folks. Okay? It's war. It's real war. Not pretend
Mhm.
war. Not war on a video console, right? Not video game. It's not romanticized. It's horrific in every
Yep.
sense of the word. And it's horrific even if you're a quote unquote a civilian.
Mhm.
That's what wars are like. For
Yep.
those people who don't understand this, okay, they talk about the beasts, right, from the east, the Russian beasts raping and pillaging women. Okay, Maddie, do you doubt that that is happening?
No. Really?
Do I doubt that that's happening? No,
Like,
I'm sure it
like,
is
like,
happening.
like history repeating itself? No.
All right.
This is a kindler, gentler war. Nobody's been bombed in hospitals or schools. Oh wait.
No, I don't think that they're intentionally trying to hit a hospital or a school per se, unless they feel that there's troops in there, but because it's just a waste of ammo. But
Mm.
and I'll be frank with you, this when people see that an apartment building gets hit by the Russians, I would say probably 30 to 40% of the time, a good 30 to 40% of the time, the Russians weren't aiming there; they were aiming somewhere else. The Russians, when it comes to accuracy of their weapon systems, there's a reason why they like blanket things, like just throw a lot of shit in an area and and hope something hits. That's how they attack things. Okay.
In Russia, you spray and pray.
Well, in America, for example, when you call in close air support from our helicopters, right? Close air support means they're going to hit the guy that's literally 30 yards away, and you're hiding in the behind the wall, while the other guy's just on the other side of the wall in the building, just across the street, right?
Yeah.
Russian doctrine calls for close air support to be a minimum of a half a mile away, okay? In order not to hit friendly troops. Does this tell you the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the quality of our system. But even with all that said, all right, and all the brutalities of the Russians, and I'm granting those. Okay, the Ukrainians are just as bad, folks. They're just not talking about it. Okay.
No. I mean, and let's face it, Zelensky, because at this particular point, if you say Vladimir, somebody's going to ask which one. Zelensky's no angel either.
No,
Boy ain't no saint.
no,
Okay, so
he's not.
it's
But
like we're helping the lesser of two evils, but really, you know, I'm
I
like
think that
it's
the only
just
reason, I'll be honest with you, Manny, I think the only reason we're helping the Ukrainians at all is the fact that that's where a lot of the money laundering from our DC
mm,
elitists has been being flowing through. Really,
yeah,
that if it wasn't for that, they would not be siding with the Ukrainians. They just letting them die. I truly believe that. Okay, now as far as the Ukrainians go, they're fighting for their lives. They're fighting for the fact that they're
yeah,
trying to keep their country together. Um, I just don't think it's going to happen though. Right? I know
uh,
I'm one of the few people who's saying this. Right? I don't think it's going to happen because the Russians, not just Vladimir. This is what my point was. Not just Vladimir, but all of Russia, all the Russians. Right? As far as their strategic thinkers and stuff go, they're all for this to try and get defensible borders along that edge to try and narrow the front with Europe. Otherwise, there's
yeah,
too many invasion points. Okay, they have
yeah. I
enough
can
of
see that.
they have enough of a problem, to be honest, dealing with the Chinese. And everyone talks about, oh, they're friendly with the Chinese. No, they recognize China for what it is, right? China has no desires to go into Russia only because that area of Russia is Siberia. Okay, you want to invade Siberia? I'm not sure Russians would really care a whole lot at this point,
No,
especially in the wintertime. Right? There is a lot of resources there actually. Right? Siberia does have a lot of natural resources, but it's huge, wide open space of tundra, polar bears, and nasty things. Okay, you know the people that live there are very hard, but there's not enough of them. Right? I mean, it's not a great place to try and live. Just like Mongolia. Mongolia, there's some areas of Mongolia that are very beautiful, but for the most part, it's like a frozen desert. On to the next story, though. Ready? I'm trying to get through these so we can get to the
yeah,
fun stuff.
mhm,
Jury finds Elon Musk did not defraud Tesla investors with infamous funding secured claim. Musk was facing a lawsuit from Tesla shareholders saying his tweets may have cost them billions of dollars as part of his desire to take Tesla private. A jury found Elon Musk not liable for costing investors millions of dollars when he issued a series of tweets saying that he had secured funding to take the electric car company private. The Friday verdict issued by a 9-person Northern California jury represents a legal victory for the 51-year-old billionaire who has seen the value of his Tesla holdings decline by 44% over the past year. During the trial, Musk personally took to the witness stand to defend the tweets, testifying he believed that he had a handshake agreement in 2018 with Saudi Arabia's public investment fund to convert Tesla, which is a publicly traded company, into a private one. It was the Saudis, he said, who subsequently reneged on the deal.
okay.
You're trusting the Saudis, right?
I, well, I mean, first of all, the Tesla electric cars are a good idea and a bad idea. Kind of like that damn cartoon that used to be on the Animaniacs. Good idea, bad idea. Good idea, electric car. Bad idea, self-driving electric car because it runs over people in crosswalks. But that's beside the point. What? I mean, the Saudis really?
Well, I'm going to talk. Let's talk about the Saudis for a moment. Why would the Saudis renege on this deal? I can tell you right now. Because if you've ever watched how Saudis do things, they don't do things in public.
Well,
Okay? They do things behind the scenes.
yeah.
They don't like the spotlight being placed on them.
Because the
Okay?
shit
They
blows
never
up in their
have.
face and everybody's looking at them.
Well, it's also because they're. Let's be honest. They're a murdering. They're a group of murdering psychopaths. Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't advertise that aspect of the government. I mean,
I mean, let's be perfectly frank here. They haven't changed since the 1200s. Okay.
remember, people, the journalist wasn't killed; he disappeared, and they still haven't found him yet. But that's beside the point.
People keep saying we want to dig up the garden because we think it's fertilizer for it.
Right.
All right. This is how the Saudis have always been. Now, I'm not saying the Saudis are the big demon of the world. Okay.
Yeah.
Only because I saved that for the Iranians. But that's a separate issue. All right, just so you understand. All right, the Saudis, they're not nice people. They never
Nope.
have been.
Nope.
Okay, they still have a 12th century mentality for the most part.
Yep.
And yes, they're trying to modernize. I understand that. Okay, but you're not going to be able to modernize with a culture from the 12th century. When you attempt to do that, you end up with pre World War II Japan, folks.
Well, but they can try.
You end up with a 12th century mentality, right, with modern weaponry.
Yeah.
Right,
Bonsai. Oh, sorry.
It wasn't the bonsai attack. There's things about World War II. I realize I'm drifting a bit off subject.
I mean, as much as yes, okay. Something is to be said about their sanity when they know they're going to dive bomb something, to be a suicide dive bomber, and the first thing they do is pray to their emperor and down sake. Because you gotta be drunk to be that crazy. That's all I'm saying.
That's true, but here's a point. Not one single Japanese unit surrendered as a unit until it was ordered by the emperor.
Yep.
During all those years of warfare, we had individual Japanese soldiers who would surrender here and there, but they never, not a single unit, not a single platoon, company, battalion, any of that surrendered.
Nope.
They fought. When they talk about fighting to the death, they're not exaggerating. Okay? And if you don't understand how bad that fanaticism can get, just take a look at what happened on Okinawa.
Okay? Yeah.
Where the civilians, all right, by the thousands were jumping off the cliffs, women holding their babies as they jumped off a cliff because they were so terrified of the Americans. Okay, it's not a joke.
That was really also the testament of the propaganda machine in Japan too. Well, I mean, let's face it. It's partly religious and partly propaganda. So, yeah, I mean, you have to be a fanaticist to some point to be that scared of us just because we're the enemy.
Right. Well, I mean, but when you're dealing with a society where this is what you know, this is what happens.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not just Saudi Arabia that you're dealing with. Look at this. Pakistan to appeal to Taliban leader over police mosque bombing.
Because the Taliban are like, reasonable.
Islamabad will ask the secretive supreme leader of Afghanistan's Taliban to rein in militants in Pakistan after a suicide bombing killed scores of police in a mosque, officials said Saturday. Since the Taliban returned...
Okay. First of all, if he's a secretive leader, how the fuck do you know where he's at? I mean, I'm just asking. It's like, we have found the lost city. Well, if you found it, it's not lost anymore. So You know, if this is a secretive leader and you know where he's at, it's not that great of a secret, is it?
That's very true. Since the Taliban returned to power in Kabul, Pakistan has witnessed a dramatic uptick in attacks in regions bordering Afghanistan. Surprise, surprise, where militants use rugged terrain to stage assaults and escape detection. Detectives have blamed an affiliate of the Pakistani Taliban, the most notorious militant outfit in the area, for the Monday blast in Peshawar, which killed 84 people inside a fortified police headquarters. The Pakistani Taliban share common lineage and ideals with the Afghan Taliban, led by, I'm not even going to attempt to butcher your name, sir, all right, who issues edicts from his hideaway in the southern city of Kandahar. Now, does let me ask, all right, I'm shocked, right? Right? This is what you are. You're shocked, right, Daddy?
Yeah, so shocked. I am so shocked.
I'm
Excuse me.
shocked. Shocked because my
Oh
body's
my
going over
god!
here.
I must do a live stream, Cuban shocked sound. Okay, I'm done.
It's more like Lucy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am shocked bilingually even.
What did you expect the Taliban to be like? These people were like, they were so loony. They started running around blowing up Buddhist statues. All right,
But MC, they're
as part
pillars
of
of
their.
society. We don't know which pillar, but they're a pillar of society.
Yeah, let's make a deal with them. This is
Right,
where
because
you
that
run
always
into certain.
works.
This is where you make stupid statements from people, right? People talk about
Mm,
people that are Trump supporters are just diehard Trump supporters, and they never say that he does anything wrong. People like me, all right, who supported Trump only from the standpoint of he's still far better than what the alternatives are, and I think that that's proven out personally. But at the
yeah.
same time, when Trump was saying he was talking to the Taliban, I was like, don't talk to the Taliban. Don't ever talk to the Taliban. Okay? You tell the Taliban this is what you're going to do, and then you do it. You tell them what they're going to do, what's going to happen if they try to stop you, and then you do it. It's the only thing
Mhm.
they know.
Yep.
It's the only thing these people understand. And
Yep.
when I say people, I mean the entire group. I am so sick of people going in there talking about, oh, the innocent civilians, they were there when they bombed this area, the innocent civilians got. What innocent civilians? How can you tell that they were an innocent civilian? Do they dress differently? Do they dress in uniforms? No, no, they don't dress in uniforms. So how can you tell the difference?
Hey, you can't, but that doesn't mean all of them are guilty. I mean,
That,
I mean, by that token, you can,
I
you can
agree
apply.
that you don't. I
Yeah.
agree that you don't target them. All right, but you don't feel bad when they're being used as willing human shields either. Trust me, if when we went into Iraq, if those idiots, all right, from Portland had gone over there and were in front of those schools that were being used to launch missiles at us, if we'd have blown up that entire concept and they were there because they were there as human shields, I wouldn't have felt a thing for them. Aside from a little bit
Mm,
of joy that I got rid of some loons, all right, that were part of my country. Okay? Now that may sound bad and that may sound cruel, but look, if you want to be a human shield for these people, so be it. Look, I understand that, right? And it's sad, it's tragic, it's war. I'm not saying you go out there and you just start killing innocent civilians, but you got to understand something else, right? Is that civilians support the war effort. The military doesn't sit up there and have weapons in its hands, whatever those weapons are, whatever the military is, wherever the military is, without civilians giving them backing, without supplying them with weaponry and supplying them with the means to sit up there and carry on the fight. Even if that's strapping a bomb to your chest and running out there. A lot of people are involved in that happening. and know about it, and they're willing to let you do it. Or am I wrong about something, Maddie?
I mean, it depends on the fanaticism and stuff, but I'm always looking at it from a point of, how is the regime working to control the people to the point where they're either a part of the regime or they're not doing anything because they're afraid they're going to lose their life and their family's lives. Remember, my family came from a regime to where if you spoke up against him, you may not necessarily be the one facing the firing line. It's probably your family, whether it's immediate or extended.
No,
So
that's true.
that's the angle I'm coming at it from because, being Cuban descent, maybe it's me, but I have a different perspective on these things. That's why I'm like saying, well, no, you can't tell the innocent civilians from the ones that are pro-regime, but that doesn't mean that, turning the entire region into a glass sheet is a good idea because mixing the innocents in with the guilty is just about as tyrannical as the tyrant running the country, in my opinion. Now,
Yeah.
you can't tell them apart. Okay, I'll give you that one because you can't tell them apart. But even the innocent ones, depending on the regime, are probably under the threat of death if they do anything counter to the regime.
Okay, but I don't care about that. As a fighter in that situation, I don't care about that. Let me give you a true story. Right, there was one of our fire bases in Iraq that started to receive sniper fire from a series of buildings. Okay, and the commander of the base basically got fed up with it. He grabbed his Iraqi interpreter. He said, "I want you to give this word for word." He said, and he went out to the front gate with a guy with a megaphone. And he said, "The next time we receive fire from any one of these three complexes, all right, that are overlooking our fire base, we're not going to ask questions. We're not going to talk to you. We're not going to do this. We're just going to level the buildings. Okay? We're not joking around. We're just going to destroy these buildings completely, and bring them straight to the ground." The next day, at their front gate, they were delivered three bloodied and beaten snipers. Okay? That's what they understand. Now, I understand that, yeah, you say that these people are innocent and that they don't want to get involved. All right? But the reality is they are involved. Okay? And you have a choice. Okay? Of which side to fight for, or which side to not fight for. One side is not better than the other from that standpoint. And I was told this by a guy in the military too. He goes, "You can't stay in the middle of these things. Pick a side. Because if you try and stay in the middle, you're just going to get rolled over. Okay? Pick your fight." All right? And that was told to me by a guy who had he was from the Dominican Republic. Okay? And he was an older NCO who, when we invaded the Dominican Republic, his father handed weapons to him when he was 11 years old, and his brother, who was I think he said 10, and he said, "Pick a side. I don't care what side it is. Pick a side." and because if you stay in the middle, you're going to be a grape. You're going to get squished, right? And he was actually captured by the Americans. He was telling the story. He was actually. We asked him how did what side did he pick? He said he took the other side. He was fighting the Americans. And they said he got captured, and the Americans took him, and then history goes on from there, right? Which was really an enlightening story and everything, right? But that's what you're dealing with war. People nowadays have gotten this idea that war is clean and surgical. It's not. It's bloody. It's
messy. And they're ignorant.
Right? Yeah,
they're ignorant. I mean, it's like when Saving Private Ryan came out, and there were people bitching about the graphic nature of the opening of the movie. They were landing at Normandy. It was called the Meat Grinder for a reason. I mean, there's no way you can pretty that up for the big screen if you're having a full-on realistic depiction of what happened at the storming of the Normandy beach. You can't. There's no way you can pretty that. Okay. And to sit there and say, "Oh well, we need a kindler, gentler war, and you need your brain reassessed because there's no such thing."
Yeah. When the thing about the theater, right? Because it shows the graphic nature of it visually, and we as human beings tend to be very visual creatures, right? But we're
Hmm.
sense oriented as well. And a movie theater can show you the 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 optical stuff and the sound to a degree. Right? I guarantee you, it was what was happening in that theater was not nearly as loud as what was going on the actual field
Oh,
on the
of course
battlefield.
not.
Okay, but at least you get the sense there. But the one thing that you're missing, right, is the taste and the smell. Most people don't
Hmm.
even realize this. Those landing craft smelled of everything. Okay,
Yep.
people had been vomiting. People because of the rough seas and everything. People had been were urinating themselves and defecated on themselves, and then you got the whole smell of the ocean and the sea. And for some people, the smell of the ocean and the sea, they find it invigorating. I think of it like I hate the smell of the ocean. I really do. Always have. Right.
Yep.
It's one of the
Well,
reasons
I
why
hate
I've never
to
been a. Go ahead.
I hate to cut you off, but I think it's my turn to go. I've got to get something to eat before I do my little Twitch stream thing.
No, no problem. Good luck to you. Thank you for showing up, Maddie.
All
And
right.
I'll go on with the
Th-
stories for everybody. I've got a lot of new stories
All
here,
right.
so
Thanks for inviting me, and maybe next time I'll have more time to hang out with you on here.
no problem.
All right. Bye,
Bye bye.
everybody.
Wave to Maddie, everybody. I know she can't see you, but I'm waving. All right, on to the next story. Japan Prime Minister Kishida sacks close aide for making anti-LGBTQ LMNOP remarks. So let's find out what these remarks were, shall we? Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, all right, said Saturday that he has sacked his close aide after he made a discriminatory remarks about sexual minorities, with public support for the cabinet continuing to fall against a backdrop of unpopular policies and ministerial scandals. Masayoshi Arya, Araya, or I'm butchering the name. I apologize. An elite bureaucrat who Saturday served as executive secretary to Kishida told reporters at a prime minister's office late Friday that he would not want to live next door to an LGBT couple, and he does not want to even look at them. Okay. Does this surprise anybody? With all due respect, it there are points, all right, in Japan, and there's points even in American society, right, where would you want to live next to somebody that's overly flamboyant and socially disruptive, regardless of whether it's LGBTQ or just, let's say the guy paints his house purple? Okay. All right. I'm just pointing it out here, folks. All right. Because that's kind of what he's talking about. The reality is if the LGBTQ couple looks like everybody else, it's fine. If they're trying to push their LGBTQ, oh, hey, look at me. I don't want anybody that's running around going, look at me, living next to me. I don't. Right? You want to stand out? Fine. Okay? If you want to stand out next to me, though, I don't want to be near you. Okay? That doesn't mean that I'm being discriminated against you, right? Well, maybe I am. But it's not because of your sexuality or anything else. It's because of your actions, right? Kishida said at a press conference that RI's remarks were completely inconsistent with the policy of the cabinet, and adding, "We have been respecting diversity and realizing an inclusive society." Arya's replacement has dealt another blow to the cabinet, which for which approval ratings are nearing what is widely seen as the danger level of 30%, after 4 ministers resigned over a roughly 2-month period last year due to various scandals and gaffes. The popularity of the Kishida administration has also been decreasing in the face of criticism of his government's plan of raising taxes to fund a planned expansion of the defense budget. All right, has been put forward without first conducting a review of where savings could be made by cutting unnecessary public spending. What do you consider unnecessary public spending? That's always going to be a question, right? It's always going to be a question, right? What is that considered? All right, because everybody who's taking public funding thinks that their funding is necessary. That's just the way it is, right? Now, does this guy deserve to be censured, fired, whatever? Look, and Matt Barkley, you're right. They do need to stop this crap because if it gets out of control, they're in a lot of trouble. All right. You treat people as individuals, but if people want to be treated as an individual, then they got to take the slings and arrows. All right, not literally, but figuratively. All right, of their positions. If you're going to make a public statement like I am now, all right, in a public forum, right, then you got to be willing to sit up there and take the criticism that comes with it in the same manner. If you want to paint your house rainbow flag color in a neighborhood where everyone wants to have just white houses with the white picket fence, okay, if you don't think your neighbors, if you're going to be one of those neighbors, are you going to appreciate that? Now, maybe you like that stuff, and maybe you want to paint your own house that way. That's very true. All right, but to be honest, most people they want to go home. They want to relax, and that's not creating a relaxing environment. Just isn't. So I can understand what he was trying to say. Now, as far as looking at the couple and things like that's over the line for the most part, unless they're coming out and they look like the rainbow dildo butt monkey. Okay? What if they're walking out like that? I could see why he was probably saying it. All right, off to the British commentary aisles. Exclusive, downright rude, furious British holidaymakers hit back at Lanzarote's president, who said she wanted fewer Brits on the island and more high-spending visitors from France, Italy, and the Netherlands. Lanzarote receives 2.5 million tourists last year, 17 times the population. President Kojuro, said she wanted fewer tourists and higher paying per capita spending. The island aims to become less dependent on tourism, 50% of which is now British. British holidaymakers have told of their fury at Lanzarote's announcement that it is fed up with UK tourists visiting the island. The Canary Islands Sunspot received more than 2.5 million visitors last year, 17 times its population, with the majority coming from Britain. But Lanzarote's leader claims the Spanish island has become saturated with Britons abroad and now wants to attract higher spending visitors from France, Italy, and the Netherlands instead. Okay. Having struggled through the pandemic due to over-reliance on foreign tourism, Lanzarote's president Dolores Corujo, Corujo, I'm trying to pronounce it. I'm butchering it. I'm sure Maddie would be like aghast at how bad my Spanish is. All right, said previously this year we went to the travel trade fair Fitur, all right, to present the change in tourism model we want for Lanzarote, all right, on which we have been working throughout this mandate, despite setbacks and limitations derived from the pandemic. She added that the island would look to manage risk with diversification strategy to reduce dependence on the British market. All right, now let them lose half their tourists. Be glad you get anyone can go to a place I've never heard of. I'm sure you've heard of the Canary Islands, all right? basically it's a series of islands off the coast of Spain. Um, the the problem that you're going to have is what are you going to put there? What are you going to produce? You want to bring it. You don't want tourism to bring the. You don't want to rely on tourism, right? What are you going to produce? You have to be productive. You have to have something. You have to have some kind of goods that you're going to produce. Now, if your idea is to reduce the total number of tourists, and you want to make it a high-end market so that only the wealthy hoi polloi go to, okay, that's fine. You can attempt to do that. How are you going to do that? There are ways you can do that, by the way. You've got to sit up there and upgrade all your hotels to be super high, expensive hotels. All right, they better be high-end markets. And what's more is you'd better have the ability to make these things exclusive. Now, I don't think that you do. Okay, I don't think that that part of the Canary Islands has that capability. When you become exclusive, you can have the high-spending tourists. You're not going to get them from France, Italy, and Spain, or the Netherlands. You're not going to get the high rollers from the Dutch, the French, or Italy. For one thing, it's the ones that are really high up there that have that money. They're not going to look at the Canary Islands as a destination spot when they have so many other options to go to. Okay? Hate to tell you this. But they can find more exclusive beaches in France than they can find in the Lanzarote. Okay? So you're not gonna be able to do that. You're just not. You're gonna have to have some reason for people to go there aside from it's a beach. Right? You see, Fiji, for example, the Fiji Islands. Who travels to the Fiji Islands? Only the super rich, generally. Right? The really well-off people travel to Fiji. Why? Because it's isolated. It's unique. And it's isolated. It can be exclusive. Right? The Canary Islands, you're not. You're not far enough away. So to make these kind of statements, look, I understand what she's concerned with, right? You're overrun with tourists. Certain cities get overrun with tourists. I understand that when the tourism market died because they locked everything down, all of a sudden the island suffered. Okay, I get that. I get that. But if you don't have any other kind of production, right, to supplement that, no amount of wishful thinking is going to work. And wishful thinking for high rollers. All right. I'm sorry, but no. Suck it up. Deal with the reality. From the Washington Examiner. A major new study shows that masks don't stop the spread of COVID. Will the mandators apologize? The COVID pandemic is in the rearview mirror. Really? It's in the rearview mirror? Really? I mean, people are getting COVID left and right, especially out here in Arizona. It's having a huge spike right now, right? According to reports, right? We have plenty of data about it, including studies telling us how well our countermeasures worked. A dozen scientists from around the world conducted a massive meta-study on our efforts to fight COVID, as well as similar efforts to fight the flu, and they published the results in the Cochrane Database of Systematic Reviews. The authors examined 78 studies on the efficacy of different mitigation efforts, such as masking, distancing, screening, quarantining, and hand washing. How did these interventions affect the spread of the flu, COVID, and similar viruses? The studies included were diverse. They covered epidemics as well as periods of low transmission. They covered rich countries, poor countries, suburban schools, inner city schools, all right, hospitals, neighborhoods, and villages. The most important thing that they had in common. They were all randomized, controlled trials or at least cluster RCTs. These are the gold standard for studies because they have the greatest chance of avoiding confounding factors, basically factors that they haven't thought of. All right, non-randomized, non-controlled trials, for example, observational studies, can be compromised if, say, people become more likely to wear masks at times or places that already have higher rates of spread, or if people who wore masks were more fastidious hand washers. All right. So, what did the studies find? For starters, hand washing was effective. Gee, washing your hands prevents you from ingesting a disease. Hygiene works. Boy, howdy. Glad these scientists were there to show me that. All right. But here's the most eye-opening finding. Wearing masks in the community probably makes little to no difference to the outcome of influenza-like illnesses / COVID-19-like illnesses compared to not wearing masks. In other words, masks don't do much of anything. All right. Okay. First of all, the masks will do certain things. All right. In settings, and you got to understand this. There's a reason why surgeons wear masks. Okay. There's a reason why in a surgery suite people are wearing masks. It's very important. And in that kind of closed setting, it can have a major effect. Okay. Why? Because you're dealing with people who you are compromising their immune system. The moment you cut somebody open, you are destroying one of the most protective layers ever created around human beings, the skin. Okay? Your skin prevents all sorts of diseases from infiltrating the more sensitive areas of your organs, which is why skin exists. It's also why in masks in those environments make a major difference. But if you're already got your skin suit on and it's not compromised, guess what? These masks, and I'm not talking about the N95 masks. That's something else I'm talking about. If you're talking about these cloth masks we're wearing, everybody has known for a long time that these things are probably going to be useless, right? They really were. The idea that these masks stop disease in that regard, sorry, they don't. They're just not that way. Probably should be washing my hands even if COVID wasn't a thing. Yes, you need to wash your hands. Right? I suspect that I've had COVID. I suspect that my daughter has COVID. Neither of us have tested positive for COVID. And the reason I think that my daughter had COVID is because she had the symptoms, right? The loss of taste, sensations, and things like that. All right. And I got sick after she did. All right. From basically from her. Okay. So I suspect that I had COVID, but I still tested negative. Go figure. Okay. I'm not decrying people wanting to protect themselves from COVID. I just always thought that these stupid masks were just that stupid. They weren't going to work. Washing your hands, making sure you stay clean. Hey, that's effective. That's because it's effective against all diseases, folks. It's the way it is. On to the next story. Dear Abby, I cheated on my partner in Vegas. Not something I think you should be calling Dear Abby about. That's kind of stupid. Dear Abby, during a trip to Vegas, I kind of had a one night stand. I'm in a relationship. I felt bad afterward. Problem is, I started having feelings for this guy. You're an idiot. Leo. Alright? We would message back and forth more on my end than on his. Alright? I guess you could say I was hung up on him. I have since mended my relationship with my partner. My issue is Leo is best friends with my best friend's husband. Okay? When he visits, I'm excluded, which means I can't hang out with her. All right? I tell her we're all adults and we are not in high school and can be in the same room with each other. It's not fair to me. Dude, why do you sit up there and emote all over everybody? Dear Abby, buried a hooker in the desert, feeling weird about it. Matt Barkley. Why would you do this? All right, it's not fair to me. I'm feeling like I'm being shunned. You're a slut. Okay. Do you understand this? You acted like a tramp. Okay? All right? And Leo is best friends with my best friend's husband. Really? So your best friend knows you're willing to sleep with somebody else. And she doesn't want you around. What a surprise! I'm being shunned. Well, she'll get over it. Why would you write this to Dear Abby? Why would you write this? I mean, God, what's wrong with you? Okay. This next one is a little clip that I'm going to show everybody. Of in Texas, they're hunting feral hogs from helicopters. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, from helicopters. Now watch this. We're just going to watch a little bit of this. All right. All right. After the stupid commercial comes through, let's put this out of here. Wait for the commercial to get over with. Because this has got to be one of the dumbest things I have ever seen in my freaking life. It really is got to be one of the dumbest things I've seen in my life. Okay, of these guys doing this. So let's wait for. I'm waiting for the commercials to get over this. Yeah, Texas hunters chase feral hogs from a helicopter. Okay. And these stupid ads are freaking starting to irritate me. Okay, here we go. I think. I think we got it now. Let's try and get this here. Come on, show the stupid video. Do I have to refresh this thing to do it? Let's do this. Let's try it this way. All right, look at these idiots. Right, look at they're trying to shoot these animals. Now, feral hogs are dangerous, but watch up over here, folks, because you see these right there. Did you see that? These guys can't hit the broadside of a freaking barn. This, you're not doing anything but just running around shooting machine guns. Look at these idiots. Okay. And this guy over here, I'm not even sure what I'm shooting. I'm just kind of just throwing stuff out. Look at this guy over here. All right. Now, these animals, all right, are more than just pests. Okay, they are dangerous. All right? I mean, many people don't realize this, but these feral hogs are dangerous. All right, they tear up a lot of stuff. They do a lot of property damage, as well as they hurt people. Okay, Ralph Mania, free bacon. And I'm all for going out there on these hunts and killing these things, but flying around in a helicopter with machine guns and just spraying. They're even in a pack. All right, you see where the pack is, and you can't even put bullets into the range of the pack. All right, you'd have been better off having the helicopter land in front of the freaking thing so that you could try and shoot them up that way. This was not the way to do this. I know, like I said, Hunting these feral hogs, I have no problem with. But sooner or later, these freaking look, folks. This is not. This is not. This is not how you treat weapons. You're flippantly treating a dangerous weapon. Okay, that has a purpose. This is not how you do it. Okay, you just these kind of activities, all right, are what cause a lot of stupidity in my opinion. Come get some. It looks fun though. It is fun firing a machine gun. I've done it before, but I can't deny that. All right, on to the next story. Alleged Dallas Zoo monkey thief arrested while lurking in the aquarium. What the hell? There was something fishy about this guy. The man suspected of stealing monkeys from the Dallas Zoo was arrested while casing out an aquarium, possibly to plan his next animal heist. Davon Irwin, identified Tuesday as a person of interest in the primate theft, was spotted at the Dallas Aquarium lurking by its marine exhibits. The police told the department, or told the Post on Friday. Irvin had been charged with 6 counts of animal cruelty for allegedly kidnapping the monkeys. The gentleman, a gentleman who would later be identified as Devon Dwight Irvin, stopped an employee of the Dallas World Aquarium to ask questions regarding one of our animals, an aquarium spokesman revealed to the Post. The employee immediately recognized Mr. Irvin from prior reporting of the incident involved with the suspected thief of 2 Emperor Tamarinian monkeys from the Dallas Zoo. The staffer immediately called the police. By the time the officers arrived, Irvin, 24, had left and made his way into a light rail train, but was later arrested in downtown Dallas. He has been charged with 6 counts of animal cruelty for kidnapping the small white-bearded monkeys, that were recovered earlier this week from their cages. Why are you stealing zoo animals? Why would you do this? Right? Now, if you were trying to release them in the wild because you're an eco nut, at least you got a reason. I suspected that this guy was just, well, let's see if we can steal a monkey. Hey, so say about those zebras, do they mind me loaded in the back of the truck? Ask him for it. Drugs were probably involved. Yeah, I suspect that's true. More monkey stories. Japanese zoo solves mystery of isolated gibbon's pregnancy. A Japanese zoo said it solved the mystery of a gibbon became pregnant while living in isolation. A tiny hole in a board is to blame. Zookeepers at the Kujikishima Zoo and Botanical Garden Moriakirara in the Sasebo City, Nagasaki Prefecture. Oh my God, how could you say all that? I know I butchered the whole out of it. Right? Said that they were surprised when a Lar gibbon named Momo gave birth in February of 2021, as the ape had been living in her own enclosure without any males present. Officials said Momo was protective of her offspring, so it was nearly 2 years before they were able to collect enough stool and excrement samples from the mother and the baby to perform DNA tests. The father of the male baby was found to be Ito, a 34-year-old agile gibbon. Zookeepers said the 2 apes were never on display together, but they discovered that the partition between Momo's exhibit and the backyard where Ito was kept while off display had a perforated board with holes about 9 millimeters, about a centimeter, in diameter. Officials said they now believe that the apes managed to mate through one of the holes. The board has now been replaced by a solid steel plate. They are planning to attempt to introduce Ito and Momo officially so they and their child can live as a family. But what could go wrong? What could go wrong, folks? I'm just saying, right? What could go wrong? And I'm sorry, I don't believe Glorio. I don't, I don't think that this happened this way. All right, I really don't. I'm sorry, but I just don't believe that. Okay, I don't. I believe that some zoo employee let them get together. Okay, that's okay. I don't think that the monkeys were looking at each other and said, "Hey, look, there's a hole here. Let me." I just don't think that's how it works. Okay, I'm just I just I just don't think that that's how it works. All right, maybe it's just me. Early COVID-19 variants remain in deer. While COVID-19 variants Alpha, Gamma, and Delta are no longer circulating among humans, they continue to spread in white-tailed deer. The animals are the most abundant large mammal in the North America. Scientists aren't sure whether the deer could act as long-term reservoirs for these obsolete variants. The new study researchers at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, collected around 5,700 deer lymph node samples, from 2020 to 2022, right, in the state, comparing the genomic sequences of the variants found in deer with sequences of the same variants taken from humans across New York. Investigators found the viruses had mutated in the deer, which suggested the variants had likely been circulating in the animals for many months. One of the most striking findings of the study was the detection of co-circulation of three variants of concern: Alpha, Gamma, and Delta in this wild animal population. Diego Deal, an associate professor of population medicine and diagnostic sciences at Cornell, said in a university news release. Um, does that mean we just got to start shooting deer? Are we going to see guys with helicopters with machine guns roaming around trying to shoot these things in the forest? Oh my god. I shouldn't suggest things like that. I think you just saw these idiots. Oh my god. Final story of the day, folks. Sad story. Okay. This is a sad story. But it's also. This falls in the realm of when you opt out of the gene pool. Okay? Just want you to understand it. We all need machine guns. Not to go shoot deer. And then Susan goes, "Nope, lots of deer around here. Gotta protect myself. Keep the COVID away." I shouldn't be suggesting things like this. I'm gonna. All right. Final story of the day. Hero risked his own life to dive into water to try and save a girl, 16, being mauled to death by a shark. All right, as witnesses described watching the horrific attack unfold in front of the tween's friends. Okay. The hero put his own life on the line by jumping into a river to save a teenage girl being mauled by a shark. The girl, 16, who has not been named, is believed to have been jet skiing with her friends when she spotted a pod of dolphins and dived into the Swan River in the North Fremantle in Western Australia. she was swimming with the dolphins at about 3:30 p.m. on Saturday when she was attacked by a shark as her horrified friends watched. Sounds like Flipper didn't like you and called for someone to deal with you. I'm just putting it out there. Don't jump into the water. I want to go swim with the dolphins. Not the time, folks. Witnesses told police that a man bravely dived into the water to try and pull the teen out, describing him as a hero, but paramedics were unable to save her. It's too bad. Said a local who saw the 16-year-old die being mauled by what they believed to be a bull shark, all right, when she heard people screaming before the man jumped in. The girl's family and friends were seen in a state of shock as they walked near the river after she was pulled out. Now, this is something that bull sharks would be known for, so people don't know. Right? Bull sharks are known to be able to swim up rivers. Okay? Yes, they live in the oceans. They can survive in rivers, though. And not just right at the edge of the ocean. Okay? They can go up rivers. They've been spotted up rivers 80 miles up a river. 80 miles away from the ocean. And bull sharks are the number one shark of bites of humans. I know everyone is terrified about a white shark. And the reason for it is the size. White sharks are huge. And when they hit a human, it's devastating. All right? Because they're so large, they're so powerful, that if they freaking grab your leg, it's very possible the leg comes with them. You now are missing a leg. That's how powerful they are. If they hit you in the side, a great white can literally kill you in a simple chomp, one bite. Bull sharks, on the other hand, they're kind of like thrashing sharks in that they go in there, they grab what they can, and then they just start ripping away. And they attack humans. They are the shark that attacks humans the most throughout the world. And yes, they swim up streams. If the water's warm enough, okay, they will swim up a river miles and miles away. Not just a couple miles. Not just, I was lost. But up to 80 miles. I watched Crocodile Hunting. But this girl, I feel sorry for her, but there's a pot of dolphins there. Just pointing out, a pot of dolphins in a river is kind of unusual too. Right? Going out there to try and swim with the dolphins. Not the time to do that. It's unfortunate. Okay? Amid a string of reports, the police initially thought that she had been injured by a boat propeller. All right. The Fremantle District Acting Inspector Paul Robinson described the incident as traumatic. It is an extremely traumatic event for anyone involved and for everyone who knew the young girl, so I won't be going into the extent of the injuries. It's unusual for a shark to be that far down the river. All right. At this point in time, an alert has been put out, a shark warning, just to let people know about the incident had taken place. Yeah, this is the thing. Okay. I mean, it's these things are not. They're wild animals. They're dangerous. If you're swimming with these wild animals, these are large creatures. If there's other large creatures you want to swim with, you know, just letting you know. It's unfortunate. It's a tragedy. That's all I've got for today. I appreciate everybody coming out and listening to my little story time. Thanks for all coming. Thanks again to Maddie for showing up for the first half. I do appreciate it. I hope you all have a good day, and I will talk at you all later. Bye-bye, everybody.